Hey, welcome to another TryHackMe walkthrough room. We're going to be going over network services. Learn about, then enumerate and exploit a variety of network services and misconfigs. Cool. So we're going to do this in 3 parts. There's going to be part 1, so we'll just cover tasks 1 to 4, and then part 2 will be tasks 5 to 7, and part 3, tasks 8 to 11. So all links will be down below when they're all live, and if you want a written write-up of this, you can check out my blog below. That'll be linked also. So let's go ahead and make sure you are connected via the VPN to the TryHackMe network, and then we can go ahead and get started. So we've got the TryHackMe on the left, and then terminal on the right, running Kali, the rolling release on VirtualBox. So that's pretty much everything. Let's get into it. Task 1, get connected. Hello, welcome. This room will explore common network service vulnerabilities and misconfigs. In order to do that, we'll need to do a few things first. So we're going to need the basics of Linux. So if you haven't done that, you can see probably a card come up to my walkthrough of that. Otherwise, just go through that room really good. And we need to be connected, which is cool. There's also a little note here about Wi-Fi hacking. I've seen this in a couple of the network service rooms, and this probably was like a big question, like where's Wi-Fi hacking? So they put that in there. Cool. As you may have noticed, I'm not reading everything exactly word for word. I'm sort of just going through. So if you want to pause it and read in more detail, by all means, go for it. So task 2, Understanding SMB. SMB standing for Server Message Block Protocol. So it's a client-server communication protocol used for sharing access to files, printers, serial ports, and other resources on the network. Cool. So we have a little bit of a diagram explaining how it works, what it runs on. So we've got Windows operating systems since Windows 95. Fun fact, that was the year I was born. And also under the Samba, being an open source server that supports SMB protocol, was released for Unix systems. I don't know why I've always found that kind of fascinating, because I just always, I don't know, Microsoft and Unix should be opposite, but then sometimes they share things. Fascinates me. All right, let's go over the questions. So we've got, what does SMB stand for? So we can copy that from up here, server message block. What type of protocol is SMB? So let's go through, and we had up here a communication protocol. That's interesting to me because in my head, when I think of protocols, I don't group them by like a communication type, but I should. That's not right. Used for sharing. So let's go back. We had down here, actually, we've got a response request protocol. I was close. I was very close. So yeah, I guess that's the type of protocol. I probably just need to do more research into types of protocols, but yeah, response and request protocol, also a communication protocol. What do clients connect to servers using? So this is a bit tricky because this is also asking for what I would consider the protocols that it uses. So I mean, yeah, some of these questions they really trip me up. But I know that this is looking for TCP/IP. That is the communication protocols that it's using. Is that right though? Is communication protocols the right term? I don't know. What systems does Samba run on? So this was Unix, which is also what Linux is built on. So yeah, so cool. Good little understanding of SMB. So it sends stuff. If you want to read up more, you can read the couple of RFCs. Gotta be honest, I haven't, but I should. Okay, so we've got task 3. Forgot to hit start machine. So if you've already gone ahead and done that, good on you. I totally forgot. So we do have a little bit of enumeration to, got my dog down here. We have a little bit of enumeration to go, which is meaning just find stuff out about the box, about the machine. So we will be doing a little bit of Nmap scanning. So if I might pause or anything, just be aware of that. Okay, so let's go over our box. So we should see our IP soon. So let's read this. Before we begin, we need to enumerate, find out stuff, and we're going to be focusing on this SMB shares drive on the server. So we're going to have a server that's going to be sharing files or something over this SMB protocol. So the first things first is running a port scan, and we've got a few different options. So we will be using another tool for enumeration called enum for Linux. And we'll sort of get into that. I'm only really familiar with that through this box, so I'm definitely no expert, but I've done a couple of things on Nmap, so yeah, a bit of an expert now, because I've done a couple of rooms. Jokes. Conduct an Nmap scan of your choosing. How many ports are open? Cool, so I can guess that it's between 0 and 9 by looking at our 1 digit, so I could just guess, but let's give it a go. I think I remember. I have gone through this room. Okay. I need to type. Sorry, my dog is very needy. So let's run an Nmap scan against our box. So you can see a couple of options that I've done. So trying to get in the habit of always running double verbose so we see more information. We could do aggressive, but I'm instead going to use the capital PN, which is to assume that everything's up for host discovery. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, but I'm going to do it. And we want to do all the ports, okay? So all the ports is -p-, and then we can run that. Before we do that, I'm just going to go over to this other tab. I'm just going to see if we can actually see the box by just a ping. Cool. So ICMP packets or ping packets are enabled on our box. Which is cool. So I think that this is a good place to start. I don't know if I have to use the PN, but I've had good luck with it. I could increase the speed, but I'm feeling pretty good with that. So let's run that. So I got 3 so far. So that's pretty cool. We should get an update at how long this is going to take. If it's going to take really long, I will pause. I'm just going to try 3. See what we get, see if that's right. Awesome. So we know we've got 139, 45, and 22. And yeah, now it's saying got a delay, but I can just cancel that, Control C. So something that I failed to do was I'm trying to get in the habit of piping through any scans and putting in a file. So I forgot to do that. Please remind me on my next scan. So let's try enumerating a bit more. Sorry, my dog is being very distracting. Let's focus on 139. I'm gonna use one hand here. 139, 445, and then 22. So this is something that I've been doing in these boxes just to, so we just want to drill down on that a little bit more. In this case, I'm going to actually do the uppercase A for aggressive. See what we get here. So run that, and if it's only going to take like 5 minutes or something, I might just go for it. But I just want to know a little bit more information about these 3 ports. So it's trying to detect. We've got tracer out. So I'll pause it there and come back in just a sec. All right. So scan actually finished pretty much just after I paused it, which is cool. So let's scroll up so I can see lots of information. Completed SNE scan report. So from here, I sort of wish that there was just like a nice little space between that, so it's just easy to find. Little bit of feedback. So we have a SSH running on 22, so we could maybe connect to that. OpenH SSH running Ubuntu. So lots of information. I SSH host key. So I don't know how this helps us exactly. I don't know if we can use that. But we want to understand a little bit more about SMB. So what port is SMB running on? So we're looking for SMB. So we've got host Polo SMB. So I know Polo Mints is the creator. So if I see that anywhere, that's a good indication we're in the right place. So I didn't catch the port number, but I mean, it's either 445 or 139, right? So we've got here 139 NetBIOS. We've got some work groups, 445. So it's running on both. Is this right? Oh my gosh. Okay, Max. Okay. Awesome. So it's running on both. That's interesting. I don't know why, but that's cool. So we've got, let's get started with enum for Linux. Conduct a full basic enumeration for starters. What is the workgroup name? Now I actually got this already from Nmap, so I can go ahead and just type that in. And what comes up as the name of the machine. So let's go back to our enum for Linux. So we've got a command there of what we can do. So we've got options and then the IP. So that was a pretty good scan. If I was a bit more experienced, there's probably more information in here that would be helpful. So yeah, there's a lot of it that I still don't understand. I think that these are possibly more scripts. So we've got account used, guest. So we might be able to just log in as a guest. SMB, we also have the version Samba 4.7.6 for Ubuntu. Yeah, Nmap, using that -a, it's pretty good. It gives us a lot more. But the point is enum for Linux. So let's go and use enum for Linux, which is already installed, I think, on Kali. I don't remember if I had to install it. So I think I already know the name of the machine too. I'm just gonna guess Polo SMB. Yeah. It's not completely a guess because I have gone through these rooms. I'll be clear that I do remember some of this stuff. So I'm just gonna run the enum directly for this and see what I get. So without any switches, because we do have a couple of switches about get user list, get machine list, get name list, dump, share list, password policy. So we can use a lot of these switches. And I could have done a -a for all of the above. So I should have done that, actually. All right, so that's still running. Let's see what information we can sort of pull. So we are looking for a version number for the OS, and I did see 7.something back in Nmap, so I might scroll up if I don't get anything. And I keep forgetting to tee this stuff into another file so I can search through it. Okay, so yeah, up here, so we did see the host discovery. So we might just try 4.7, see if that's right. That I would think that's right, but I mean, that could be wrong. And I might have to run another scan with -a this time. Let's just take our time. Like, I always do this. I just do a scan and I just keep scrolling up and down. It's sort of terrible. So let's slow it down. So we've got our target. We've got some few usernames that we could use. Domain users, root, bin, none. So I'm not an expert with enum for Linux. So I don't know if this is like when it says known. I don't know if that means it tested it and it got it correct. I'm not sure. But we definitely have this being our machine. It's massive. Gives us it's like I find doing these scans like a little overwhelming because you get like so much. Sort of sometimes it's a bit hard to know where to really start and go. I'm not seeing a version. probably scrolled past it. Like we do have a minimum password length. I'm just gonna, what sticks out is something that we might want to investigate. That is a very good question. So there is a share. I don't know whether there's the OS version. Platform. Oh, okay, there it is. Yeah, I knew I was going past it. OS version. Good lesson. Hey, we're all learning. Good lesson. Take your time. Slow down. Take your time. So our domain name is our workgroup, but we do have a list of. Are these the shares? Is MS Browse? This is just a bit of a guess. I don't think that's it. So I don't know if we're looking for a share to enumerate. There's got to be some sort of share on here. Okay, here we go. Share names. So remember that this is all about sharing files and that. So we're trying to enumerate one of these. So out of our shares that we've got net login, we've got profiles. So I'm gonna guess profiles looks pretty interesting. Damn it. There we go. Awesome. So, okay, we found out, a pretty good amount of information, and we're going to look at trying to connect to our profiles share. So let's go over to task 4, and let's see how we can exploit SMB. So while there are vulnerabilities such as CVE 2017-7494 that can allow remote code execution by exploiting, you're more likely to encounter a situation where the best way into the system is due to misconfigurations in the system. In this case, we're going to exploit anonymous SMB share access, a common misconfig that can allow us to gain info that will lead to a shell. Cool. So that's basically saying there's an anonymous account, meaning we don't necessarily need an account. Enumerating users, I don't know what enum for Linux is still doing built in. So I guess these are our local groups, so it's still trying to find more stuff. And I cancelled it when I copied, but yeah, cool. Okay, so we're going to use share location and interesting SMB shares. So we're going to use SMB client --IP and then our shares. So that's going to be our profile. So let's go and use SMB client, which should be pre-installed in Linux if you're using that. Otherwise, you'll have to look it up and how to download it and install it. And we can followed by the username and then the port number. What were the port numbers? 139445? I think. Cool. So let's try and do this. Before we go any further, what would be the correct syntax to access an SMB share called secret as a user suit on a machine with the IP of 10.10.10.2 in the default port 139? Okay, so we would run SMB client. We would go, do we do our dashes first? No, we go --IP, which would be 10.10.10.2, and then our share name, which we in this case secret. So that would go towards it, but then we need to, as the user suit, so we'll do uppercase U, so uppercase U for suit. And then a -P for the port, which I assume we do need to go -P. I think it was 139. Awesome. Cool. So this is just, getting used to the syntax before we go do it for real. Great. Now you got the hang of the syntax. Let's go ahead and do that. So we've got some help here for, we're going to be using the anonymous. Will this share allow us to access it? Let's test it out. Something says, yes, it will. So anonymous with a capital A. So let's go ahead and write this out. But in this case, we want to go to our, // put in your IP address. So make sure you're getting your IP address, not mine. but we're going to be going to profiles. So just check that we're going to the right share. And then in this case, the user, we're going to be anonymous. So let's go and type that in, anonymous. And then our port was also the same 139, so the default port. So yeah, let's run that, see what we get. Enter workgroup anonymous's password. I'm just gonna hit enter, see if we can get in. Look at that, we have got a shell. We've got a command line. So let's use the capital Y there for yes. Great. Have a look around for any interesting documents that could contain valuable information. So I always find this a bit hard when we're in a shell and like I don't, you know, I like we're running Ubuntu. I think, yeah, we're running Ubuntu. So commands like ls print working directory, who am I? But since it's a different version of Ubuntu, like not everything, you know, works the same, and we're using SMB client, so it's tricky, I guess, to sort of get used to everything. So some commands like ls is working fine, but some commands like who am I aren't found. So it's just a case of getting used to the shell. So who can we assume this profile belongs to? So I can't see anything from who am I. They've left a working from home.txt. So let's try and cat that out. Tab doesn't work. And I think if we typed it out with spaces, we're not going to have any luck either, because cat doesn't work. So this is a good time that I go to help and we learn the commands in this SMB. So it's not all the same as just like any, because I guess we're not using bash, we're using SMB, I think. I'm still learning. From my memory from when I did this, I think we used the more working from home in formation. I might have to look this up. No, that did not work. Yeah, we definitely want to list out. So like we can just look up SMB client cat file, doesn't work, or just how to cat file. So like we've got, you know, a few options. I just echo SMB client useful tips for clients. So we've got enable ls get recurse multiple directories instead of files, all info, bonus. I can't remember what it was. So we can get the file, put it on our local, or all info. Do we have all info? We do have all info. All info. Okay, can we just run this against working from... Oh, text work. Tab worked fine. Now, because I know... This is what I find tricky, and I'm trying to remember live, so you can skip ahead if you already know it. I can't remember. I was gonna pause and come back in a sec. Okay, after looking it up a couple of times, it was the more command. I think I used the more command. Didn't I use it? Yeah, I used it, but I just didn't add quotes. So, little annoying. But anyway, figured out. So we've got to John Cactus, as you're well aware, due to current pandemic, most Polo Incorporated has insisted that wherever possible, employees should work, such as your account would be enabled with SSH to access the main server. So if there's any problems, contact that. So that's from James, but this is to John, and it's on his machine. So we can assume that in this case, this is going to be John Cactus's account. What service has been configured to allow him to work from home? So we found out SSH. Okay, now we know what directory on the share should we look in. Dot something. So let's hit Q and let's list out everything that's in here. So we have a .ssh, but we need to actually put the dot in. So this directory contains authentication keys that allow a user to authenticate themselves on and then access a server. Which keys is most useful to us? So can we change directories into SSH? And then we can list out everything in here. So we have got ID underscore rs dot pub. So I think that's public, and I think that this is private. Could be dead wrong. I'm learning about SSH and encryption, and RSA was the protocol, something that was used in encryption. So yeah, this is super important to us. So these are, I think, public and private. Don't hold that against me. But we're going to go rd underscore rsa. So that's going to be, so download this so I'm going to have to look this up because, man, I cannot remember. So we want to, because I think it's get. I think mget. There's something here. There's mget. How do I find out more information? I'm probably going to pause again and look this up. But yeah, we just need to get this. So I'll be right back again. Okay. I'm using mget and it's saying, do you want to get this? So I think that this is right. I don't know if I exit, does that, yeah, so this is, okay, no, I'll be back again. Okay, so I was super close, found a helpful article, so we were using get, but I just wasn't specifying the output file, so yeah, I did already get it, so we can use get SSH in SSH and get the rd underscore RSA. So that's what we want to get, but we just want to specify what that is going to be on our local machine. So then we can run exit and we can list out what we've got. And now we actually got our ls, our ID RSA, which was right there. So cool. So we can cat this out and we can see that this is a private key. So I've started doing a little bit of cracking. So we need to, it says here, download this file to your local machine. Check. Change permissions using chmod 600. So I need to learn a bit more about, we can do that. And now use the information you have already gathered to work out the username of the account, then use the service key to log in to the server. So this means we want to use SSH to log in because that was activated. Now we have a couple of ideas of the username. We've got John Cactus, so we could try John, we could try Cactus, we could try John Cactus. Off memory, I think it was Cactus. And how do we SSH with private key? Because we want to pass through that private key. Do we? So we've changed it. So we go -i. So let's go over here and go -i and run that ID underscore RSA, which should be right there. And permanently added. And if that is right, we should be in. So the only reason I knew it was Cactus was from like last time I did that. That was off memory. But that would be probably the thing that would get pretty annoying trying to figure that out. But hey, we got the last flag in the end. So Took a little bit of more digging, so I didn't remember everything since the last time I've gone through this, so it was fun to do it again. Sort of stretched me a little bit trying to remember everything. SMB client in particular is something I should probably do a bit more research on personally. So I hope you've enjoyed this first part. So I'm going to terminate the machine and we'll go through the next part in the next video. So subscribe if you'd like to check that out for when that goes live. If you've got any questions or anything, reach out. If you've got any pointers, things that I might have not done exactly 100% or just any feedback or anything, please let me know. Always willing to learn. So that's what I'm trying to do is, put this out. Hopefully I can help someone else. Hopefully someone else can help me, and we can all learn. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know. If you didn't, also let me know. And thanks for checking out. I'll see you in the next one.